Welcome back to the channel. I'm Shelby Fix.
And I'm Chris Saeli.
And this is His Turn, Her Turn 2.0.
And today we're going to take the 2021 F-150 Raptor for a drive.
Let's go.
There's so many cool things to talk about this truck. I don't even know where to start. But first of all, just look at this thing. Shelby told me not to wear my awesome Martini Racing sweatshirt today because it would distract from the truck. But like,
because the truck is awesome.
The truck is awesome, but so is this sweatshirt.
I didn't want you to distract from it.
How do you distract from a big orange Raptor? Look at all the lights and all the cool stuff on it.
That's the whole point.
Yeah, so nobody's looking at this. Everyone's looking at this. What's interesting to me about this truck is these front lights. The only reason they're actually here is because this is wider than a regular F-150. So this is over 80 inches wide. So it's defined as a commercial vehicle. So you have to have these lights, and they're cool. They're so cool.
They are cool.
Like, I love them. They redesigned the headlights from the first and second generations. You've got these super cool lines. Everything's LED now. You've got an actual functional hood vent. There's functional vents on the side, which are super cool. Something that I think is awesome, I think we can both agree, front plates on literally any vehicle, terrible. If you can avoid getting a front plate, don't put a front plate on. In the owner's manual for this car, they specifically tell you, remove the front plate for optimal off-road performance.
Why is that? Aerodynamics.
And the air intakes for the turbos, of which this vehicle has 2. So, bravo to Ford for basically telling you, get rid of the front plate. It's fantastic. It looks so much better without it. Something else that's really cool on the front end of this is your front end camera, which Shelby thought was really convenient for parking. I thought was really convenient for off-roading. It's convenient for a lot of things. But if you're approaching a ledge, climbing a hill, descending a hill, it's kind of convenient to have the front camera there. And again, you know, no front plate. It looks awesome. Ford says to do it. So we've already talked about how wide this thing is, okay? And it's got these huge fender flares on it to accommodate these super meaty tires.
These are 37s, but you can get them in 35s. But this is the optional 37-inch tire for this truck. And let me tell you, I like it better.
It really adds to the stance of this truck, and something that it also adds to is your ground clearance. So you normally get 12 inches of ground clearance standing on the 35-inch tires. With the optional 37-inch, you get 13.1 inches of ground clearance so that you've got a less chance of high pointing this truck. Right. So something else that's really cool, and again, it's an option on this, it has the optional forged wheels and the bead locking rings. So you've got to go to Ford to get that done, but if you plan on taking this truck off-road or any sort of sand or dunes, you're gonna want that just to protect your tire. So just these big tires, big fender flares, super wide hips. It's a really, really good looking truck, really aggressive stance. So this is one of the functional vents that we talked about. There's another one in the hood. Again, this really just helps with breathability, aerodynamics. Something I want to talk about while we're on the side of this truck, one of the biggest changes for this generation is you can only get this in the Super Crew configuration now. So you can only get the full 4-door, which, I don't know, I'm kind of hit or miss about it.
No, I love it.
Really?
I love it.
But like...
No, I love it.
Okay.
I think it's great.
Shelby
I think
loves
it fits perfect with the body, the wideness, and and even though this truck looks like a normal pickup truck, like I think it fits the body.
Okay, you heard it here, folks. Shelby loves it. Anyway, that does attribute about an increase over the base price of about $11,000 because you're going with the increased cab size, and that's the only configuration that you can get it in the 2021 model year.
Right.
But if Shelby likes it, everybody should like it. This truck only comes with one bed size. It's a 5.5 foot bed, which is a lot shorter than most of the other F-150 in the... You know there's a step here, right?
No.
Yeah. Power tailgate.
Oh,
down and up. Check this out, right? Kind of nifty. Boom. And there's a handle if you need it too. Anyway, the 5.5 foot bed is not necessarily the most practical if you plan on using this truck for...
I think it can still be practical.
Oh, it definitely can be.
Sure, it can be.
It can be, but I mean, you can get like an 8 foot bed in a normal F-150. If you buy a truck like this, you're not going to be using it for you know, the same kind of purposes that you would buy a tradesman version of an F-154. So this 5.5 foot bed is going to be fine.
It still has a spray-in bed liner and all that, so it is protected if you want to throw in a bunch of stuff.
It is. Just like the King Ranch that we tested maybe a couple months back. So I believe it's a 2.7 kilowatt generator. You can power tools on it. You can power lights on it.
With bed lights.
With bed lights. That's an optional feature. But I would say it's really nice to have. I mean, especially this is the kind of truck that you can take literally anywhere, like camping, off-roading in the desert.
On a road trip.
On a road trip. It's very comfortable.
Throw the kids in the back, hop on a road trip.
You could.
Because that's what I would do.
You can put the kids in the back, especially with this extra cab space now that you have to take.
The excellent cab space.
The excellent cab space.
Watch your fingers.
Look at that.
Oh.
Fantastic, right?
Nice.
Wait for it.
Nice.
Boom. Now in the front, the iconic grille for the Raptor, it's always had that huge Ford right across the front grille, and they put it on the back here too.
That is also
Raptor.
an option.
Is it really?
Yes.
No way.
It's an option if you want it to say Ford, or if you want it to say F-150, or if you want it body colored or plastic.
Ooh, I would always go with the plastic because it contrasts really nicely with the body color. I think you would lose a lot of the coolness factor. Yep. Speaking of coolness factor, look at how big these are.
Get your hand out of there.
Look how big. It's awesome. It looks so sporty. Let's talk about the business end of this truck, which is really its off-road capability. Starting with the back, you'll notice the huge slope up there. That's a 30-degree angle of departure, coming off of the rear there. So if you're going up an incline, you've got a lot of clearance in the back.
Rocks,
sand dune, rocks, anything like that. Obviously, we've already talked about these awesome tires, okay?
I love them.
With the bead lock, super awesome.
That'd be the only way I get those tires.
I think you have to do it. You can't get the 35s. After seeing them with the 37s, you have to do it this way.
It looks beefy.
So much better.
Yeah.
So much better.
Yeah.
Now, underneath, and this is new, they got rid of the old leaf spring suspension and went with a 5-link coil suspension. Fox racing shocks, which are fantastic, and you have about a foot of suspension play in this truck, which is absolutely massive. That's huge for if you kind of ever watch an actual Baja racing truck. That's how they go over all those bumps, and you see the suspension moving, but the truck body itself stays level. That's where that suspension play comes in.
And this truck has that option.
It does. This is a really capable off-road vehicle. If you move up a little bit more, you'll look at how high this sits off the ground, even with the running boards.
And that also has the tough bed spray
on the lining board, so that, or the running board, so that'll protect that, especially from rock chips and everything like that. Standard on the 35-inch tires, you get 12 inches of ground clearance. With these, we talked about, you get 13.1 inches of ground clearance with the 37-inch tires, which is huge. Make sure that you don't high center the truck, or it makes it less likely anyway. Coming up to the front, again, you'll see the really aggressive angle of approach here, and there's actually 2 skid plates that you can't see underneath there to protect the suspension and other critical components. And again, you've got this ground clearance and the roughly 30-degree angle of approach so that you can take on anything that's in your path. If you bottom this truck out, you're in some serious stuff.
So I also want to point out all of the little Easter eggs that are hidden in the truck that say Raptor. So you got them in the headlights, on the front hood scoop. You got them inside, which we'll show you in a second. They're even on the driving lights too. So it's pretty cool how they have little Raptor names everywhere throughout the whole truck, and it keeps that brand alive.
Here we are in the 2021 F-150 Raptor. It's only fitting that I did this review because I had the joy of driving the TRX, and I thought that I would bring my Ford-loving fiance, Shelby, the Car Coach 2.0, with me. Shelby's never driven a Raptor before, but she's always wanted one.
I've always wanted one since like 2012 when they came out with the Shelby Ford Raptor, and I knew right then and there, one day I will have one.
I will say that the original generation of the Raptor, I think, is better because it had a V8.
All right, yes, but the look of these new ones, I think, just looks so much better.
A lot better. If they could take...
So much meaner. I love the way that the truck looks mean.
If they could just take the V8 and put it into this truck, everything would be good, which I guess they're going to do with the Raptor R, right?
Right.
Allegedly, it's getting the same basis, same kind of power plant.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. Has not been confirmed. Same basis.
Nor denied.
which is half the battle,
right,
as the GT500, which is a 760 horsepower supercharged monster.
So obviously that would probably compete with the TRX.
It would.
A little bit more.
It would. And if they left the GT500 engine that would go in the Raptor R at full GT500 spec, it would have more horsepower than the TRX, and that would be really interesting to see. One of the biggest things that I think would be most interesting to see is if Ford decided to go with the all-wheel drive option, because this is a rear-wheel drive truck. You obviously can put it in four-wheel drive, four-wheel high, four-wheel low, depending on what kind of off-road settings or off-road conditions you're driving in. But the TRX is all-wheel drive all the time. They got a lot of complaints on the last generation of this truck because they made the switch from the V8 to the V6 and it didn't sound nearly as good. So on this version, they upped the exhaust to a 3-inch exhaust, and it definitely sounds a lot better.
I have to disagree with you. I think that I wish that the exhaust was a little bit more of a more burbly, like, aggressive sound than what it has.
I don't think it sounds great, but it sounds better than the first generation of the V6 Raptor. And I think it's really hard to compare this truck after you drive a TRX because, I mean, holy smokes, what a noise that truck makes. I mean, it's absolutely sensational.
I mean, you can hear the exhaust now, like, it sounds really good, but I wish it sounded a little bit louder.
I would definitely agree with that. I think what's interesting, though, is, and again, you see this with the modern turbocharging technology, this truck still, with a 3.5 liter V6 twin turbo, 450 horsepower, 510 pound-feet of torque. It's quick. I mean, 0 to 60 happens in about 5.3 seconds. That's quick. That's quick for a pickup truck that can also tow a little over 8,000 pounds.
It is quick. I'm not debating that it is quick. I just wish it sounded a little bit louder.
Yeah, no, it definitely needs to be a little bit nastier. It's called a Raptor.
Right.
Like, it's one of the coolest vehicle names ever, besides, like, Interceptor. Like, that's a cool name. Like, Jensen Interceptor. Awesome name. So this is one of the few vehicles where the pedals are adjustable. You can bring the pedals to you, which is always a nice feature if you're short.
Hammer down to a red light.
Hammer down to a red light. Oh, it stops. I don't give it that much. This truck, as tested, is about $77,500. And so I will tell you, we tested an F-150 King Ranch.
Yep.
And that truck was about the same price as this truck.
Mm-hmm.
I would have this truck over that F-150 King Ranch.
Oh, yeah.
All day long.
You know why I would want this one over the King Ranch?
Why?
Because this looks mean and like just
really
Raptor
does.
has a brand name that everybody knows it. Like, if you see a Raptor, you're like, what? That's a mean looking truck. Like, that's an awesome truck.
They have been making the Raptor so long that I actually worked at a Ford dealership in high school when the Raptor came out for the first time, which was over 10 years ago. And it's a household name now. You know, TRX is new. Everybody knows about the F-150 Raptor. You know, if you go online and search F-150 Raptor, you're going to find all kinds of YouTube videos of people off-roading it and people jumping it. And it's just, everybody knows about the F-150 Raptor, and everybody really wants one. Like, I wanted one when they first came out. I still want one. I still think they're great.
I definitely wanted one when it first came out, and I still want one. Like, the fact that we get to test drive this and I get to drive this is like the happiest day for me, because I've always loved them.
One of the neat things about this truck, too, and it's kind of like standard on a lot of Ford trucks, and you can't see it right now, but there's tons of auxiliary switches up here. There's 6 of them, and I'm playing with them right now, and it's really irritating Shelby. I can tell by the look on her face because they make a really distinct flicky noise. The auxiliary attachments are kind of nice. You can hook up a winch to this. You can hook up a light bar. You can hook up, all kinds of additional attachments and wire them right into the auxiliary switches, which is kind of cool.
So I will say, going back to the ride.
Ooh, okay? It's nice.
It's soft. Every bump we hit, it feels like we're kind of just like floating over the bump.
You don't notice them, and
you don't notice them at all.
No, and a lot of that has to do with the Fox suspension that's in this thing. You've got, like I said earlier, over a foot of suspension travel. You've got these big meaty 37-inch tires and 17-inch rims. So, I mean, everything is absorbed. All the bumps, every kind of expansion joint that you could possibly hit. This truck is designed to take a beating off-road. So on normal roads, even here in New York, where we have the worst roads, this feels as comfortable as can be.
It's awesome. We've been hitting tons of bumps just on this drive.
Don't even notice them.
It is like we're just floating over them. That's what a lot of pickup trucks don't have.
No.
A lot of pickup trucks are very bouncy.
Too stiff.
If that's the word.
Yeah, because they're designed more for the purpose of, being a work truck. So they've got tighter suspension so that they can carry a payload, they can tow. And you can carry a payload with this. I think it's about 1,200 or 1,400 pounds, and you can tow with it 8,400 pounds, somewhere in there.
There's a bump.
But yeah, still hardly.
But we just floated over it.
Floated right over it.
Yeah.
But
I'm kind of trying to purposely hit the bumps so that we can show on the camera
it's so
that
stable.
it really isn't doing much.
No, it's
I would take this on a road trip.
So stable. Yeah, I would too. And if you do take it on a road trip, I believe you're going to get about 18 miles to the gallon on the highway, so not bad, especially because somebody can correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below, but I am almost positive this has a 36-gallon fuel tank. I'm pretty sure that's what it said on the window sticker. That's huge. Absolutely massive. So you're going to get some decent range. And I got to tell you, we have had this truck up to speed. And for having these 37-inch BF Goodrich tires on here, it's also very quiet. So not only is it quiet. Not only is it comfortable, but you don't get the kind of road noise that you would expect out of tires that are this aggressive. And they are really aggressive.
Yeah.
If you kind of missed what we were talking about, so we had it in automatic, and even though it was in sport mode, this does have a 10-speed transmission, and we noticed when we were driving the F-150 with the 10-speed, and also the new Mach 1 with the 10-speed.
Yeah.
It boom, 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 boom. It shifts gears so fast.
So quickly.
You can't really get a good feel for the engine or the way it sounds and everything, and it's really, really strange. So this truck was doing the same thing. It was thinking, okay, well, you're in sport mode, but we left it in automatic, so it wanted to be as efficient as possible. So it just, it was riding in 8th gear, 9th gear, so that the truck was running at, 1,500 RPM.
Right.
And if you actually use the manual shifters on this, I mean, it actually sings a really, really nice tune. And honestly, for a truck, the paddle shifters are very responsive. I've got to say, it's actually pretty fun to drive with the paddle shifters, especially because you can hold on to that gear, you can get the noise out of it. So I take back my comments about the noise that it makes. It just really comes alive above 2,000 RPM.
Yeah, it does.
It really does, actually. Yeah. This is an extremely comfortable truck, and the seats are great too.
I would take this on a road trip.
I would. Recaro seats in this, they're extremely comfortable. They're a combination of Alcantara and leather, heated and ventilated, which is kind of nice.
That is nice.
I gotta tell you, just all around, the interior quality on this truck is really nice. There's a lot of contrasting materials. There's some aluminum steel looking material. There's some carbon fiber looking material.
This body color, if you get this body color, you have to get this blue interior with the orange stitching.
Really?
Yeah. That's just one of their options.
Which I don't hate, because
no, I don't hate it at all. I think it matches really well.
It looks really good.
And it looks good. These Recaro seats are very comfortable.
I will say too that the steering wheel on this is it's thick. It's really fat. And it's really nicely upholstered leather. It's really nice to hold. The paddle shifters themselves are aluminum or some sort of metal. They feel really great as well. And what I will say, two things about the paddle shifters which I love. One, they are affixed to the steering wheel, which is really nice because no matter where the wheel is, you can get to the paddles.
Yep,
and the second thing is the size of the paddles. Again, this is the second time during this I've brought up a Giulia Quadrifoglio, but the paddles are huge, so you can pull it on the top, you can pull it on the bottom, you can reach these paddles from anywhere that your hands are sitting on the steering wheel,
right? Which
is really nice. I will say you do feel how wide this truck is, though, when you drive it. Looking out over it, left to right. I mean, like it is big.
It's line to line.
It is
for sure.
It is a big truck. So it's.
But that's what I love about it.
Oh yeah, it has so much presence. Really, quite a bit of presence on the road. So one of the things that we haven't really talked much about, mainly because I don't know anything about it, is
technology.
I'm technologically inept, is the infotainment and all that kind of stuff. So I'm really going to kind of turn this over to Shelby, and she's going to explain a lot about the technology, what this car can do and everything. I'm just more of a meat and potatoes guy. I talk about power and horsepower, and that's kind of where my limits it ends.
This is my favorite thing to talk about is the infotainment system, which this is the Sync 4, so you can plug in your Apple CarPlay, your Android Auto, you have your navigation, your satellite radio, all the fun things that you'd want in a vehicle. Also, you have your heated seats, you have your air-conditioned seats, okay, so that's pretty cool. And then as far as cameras, you have your surround view camera when you're parking. You have your bed camera to make sure everything in the bed is secure, or if you want to check on it or anything like that. 12 volt.
Yeah. And you've got voice commands, you've got the surround camera, you've got your front camera, which we talked about for the off-roading.
Right.
But it doesn't do anything like, wow. Like it doesn't park itself, it doesn't, do any of that. It does have, I guess safety features are kind of technology.
Well, yeah, safety features are technology.
So it does have
your lane change departure, your blind spot warning.
Those are options.
You have your backup camera, your backup sensors, or parking sensors.
You also have, it's an option, but you can get the cross traffic alert, where when you're backing up, it tells you if there's something coming behind you.
Right.
You can also, it does come standard with forward collision warning though. We've been driving this truck all day, and what an enjoyable drive it has been, I have to say. It's really fantastic. It's so good to look at. I can't find a single thing that I don't like about this truck, but it's getting dark out, and we do have to bring this review, as fun as it is, to a close.
Yep.
So if you've enjoyed what you've seen here today, make sure you leave a comment below, and make sure you click the little bell.
Ding.
Subscribe to all of our content so you don't miss any notifications, and hit the little subscribe button. You can follow us on social media at any of the accounts listed below so you don't miss any more of our content.
Thanks so much for watching.
We'll see you next time.